Well, good morning, you beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous people. Nice to see you here on the Daily Creative Challenge. Hello, my name is Andrew Hochradel, as you can see right down there. There we go. And yes, as my hat says, graphic design is my passion. And that's why I'm here with you today to share my passion. And I have to admit something. I've lied to you. It says this is the Daily Creative Challenge for Adobe Illustrator, but today we're going to be getting a little bit out of Illustrator. If you've been following along with these daily creative challenges, we have been doing a aeronaut theme. We've been doing a aviation theme, I guess, and riding the friendly skies. So we are traveling to a new area today, and we will be in Illustrator, but I'm also going to sneak in a little bit of a new product called Adobe Creative Cloud Express. So shh, don't tell anyone. It's our little secret. It's our little secret. Don't tell the mods. Don't tell Wade. Don't tell Adobe people. We're going to hop in here. All right. So let's go ahead and hop in, tell you how you can get involved with the challenges and get your source files for today. And then we'll jump into secrets because we all love secrets. So first thing you can do is go right over here to behance.net/challenge/illustrator. That is the place to grab your source files and check in every day for our challenges for those videos. If you missed one for the source files, a lot of you did a great job with the gradients and color palettes yesterday. We'll look at that in a second. So today we are doing linked graphics, and we are working with Creative Cloud and CC libraries. That's why we're going to bounce around a little bit. We are going to be in Illustrator, I promise, but we'll also bounce some other places. So we're going to be looking at linked graphics today. If you want to see old challenges, you can scroll all the way down and see them here. Starting next, actually 2 weeks from now, it will be down in the low and we'll have a new one. But our next challenge, our last challenge will be tomorrow. Oh, sad day. The other way that you can get involved is to go right over here, follow this purple line all the way there. My finger's going to disappear if I keep going. bit.ly/AI Discord. That is our Discord where people are posting work. And you can see here that there's a lot of people posting work from the last challenges. There is some amazing stuff here. The gradients that you all were able to create were gorgeous. I saw someone that did like a fishing gradient. And it was like a sunrise in the morning. But y'all have done an amazing job with these challenges. Here it is. Good job, UMR. Love the gradients happening here. So if you missed that, you can go back and watch those challenges by going again to behance.net/challenge/illustrator. All right, with that, we are wasting no time. Let's go ahead and take to the skies. If you're just joining us, we are doing a theme. We are doing an airline theme. We are flying Hawk Airlines. And on our theme today, we'll be taking to a very special place where I'm going to show you some effects, but also how to send those effects into the stratosphere and sync them to Creative Cloud libraries. So let's go ahead and take to the skies, and I'll be back in just a second in my captain's uniform. All right, everybody, it's your captain here. We're going to be taking some stops and some layovers today, stopping at more than 10 different destinations using our Creative Cloud library. So if you're with us for the duration of the flight, go ahead and buckle up. If you want to open up your Illustrator with us and follow along, that would be a great start. I'll be your captain today, Andrew Hochradel, and thank you once again for following Hawk Airlines. All right. We are here, we are back, we are in the cockpit, ready to fly away. Let's go ahead and jump into our source file. Here we go, ready? There's nothing here. It's an empty source file because we are flying the open skies today. Let's read our challenge. Use the effects panel to create a custom shapes and graphics that can be used in CC libraries. So this is going to be a very, very easy challenge, hopefully. Hopefully it's going to help you understand the effects a little bit better and CC libraries a little bit better. So let's go ahead and just grab our first shape. And the first shape we're going to grab is a rectangle. So we're going to click on the rectangle tool, which is just M. And then we're going to click and drag out a rectangle. Boom. Wow, we did it. Amazing. Unstoppable. Let's go ahead and put no stroke on this, and we're going to fill it with whatever color you want. I'm going to pick a blue just because I really like using blue for the open skies. So we have our shape here, and today we're going to be working with the effects panel, which again, just affects, they are effects that affect the objects that we are going to put on the artboard. So we're going to have our object selected. We're going to go up here to effects, and you can see that there are a million different things that we can do. What I want to focus on today is the warp, first of all. So let's go ahead and do the warp, and we're going to do something that everyone asked me how to do. We are going to create a squircle. So we're going to grab the rectangle tool, hold down Shift to make a square. And watch what we can do here. The effects just augment the existing shapes that you have. So we are going to go here to inflate. And inflate is one that kind of, think of it as sticking a straw into your shape and going and blowing into that straw, right? It's going to inflate that shape. We also can act like we are sucking on that straw, and it's going to squeeze it in with this effect. So using these warps, you can create some really complex shapes very, very quickly. So let's go ahead and create the squircle first, because that is one that we want to do. And we've seen this, that it is a square that is a slightly rounded circle. So we're going to set this at 30%, so it has just a little bit of a ridge there, and we're going to hit OK. From there, we're going to go to Object, Expand, and it's going to convert that to a path for us. Now we are going to grab our direct selection tool, which is just A, and we're going to pull in these edges to just round them out a bit. So now when we let go, it has created a square, but it is a slightly bulgy square. I like to call this a squircle. So the difference between a squircle and a square is if we try to create a square and just round the corners, it's going to look a lot different, right? So this gives us that extra little bit of oomph to create a unique shape. And that's all that we're doing today, is using basic shapes to then use effects to create unique shapes. So the next that I want to do is I want to create like a wiggle line. A wiggle line, you know, for like social media, right? So if I wanted to create a wiggle line for social media, here's the easiest way to do it. We're just going to grab the line tool, line segment tool, which is just backslash, yes. And we are going to click and drag. Holding Shift is going to keep it in a straight line. If we drag anywhere else, it will go anywhere else. So we're going to hold it Shift in a straight line. And this one, we're going to make sure we have a stroke on it. So we're going to come over here to the stroke panel and set this stroke really, really big. Let's set it like 40. You know what? Let's set it like 120. Yeah. So here's what we're going to do. We have this stroke looking good, looking great. We love it. Let's go ahead and change that to a fun green color. So we're going to select our stroke here and change it over to this green. There we go. Those colors go well together, blue and green. All right, wiggle lines are very important for social media. They are. Like, once I wiggle it, you'll be like, oh, those. So we have this line segment. We're going to select it using the selection tool, which is just V. And from there, we're going to go to Effect. And this time, we're going to go to Distort and Transform. So you can play around with each of these different effects, and you can find some really cool stuff. I would suggest going into Warp and just like literally blowing everything up in Warp. But here, we're going to go to Distort and Transform. And then we're going to go to Zigzag. And what this does is it's going to do exactly that. It's going to make whatever path is selected into a zigzag, right? And if we think about it, here's what we do. We're going to click on Zigzag. And there we go. It has zigzagged this line. Now, there are options here. Oh, I can point. There are options here that allow us to change how much zig and how much zag. So we can change the size, which is how high they zig and how low they zag, which we want them to be pretty ziggy and zaggy. And then we can also change the rides per segment, which is how many times they zig and how many times they zag. We're making that an official term, by the way. So you can see here that we're making this a little bit zig and a little bit zag, looking pretty good to me. Let's do 3. So as you can see, it looks like it has 1, 2, 3, right? It has 3 zigs and zags, and we're going to change it to smooth. And what that does is the corner is going to make it pointed, but when we hit smooth, it is going to make it, this is the wiggle line that I was talking about for social media. Very important. And we're going to make it so that it's a little bit higher. Maybe I want it to be 4. Maybe I want it to be 2. Let's do it as 2. So we're going to say we have 1, and then 2. So each segment, it is 2. So we're going to hit OK. And look at that. Super fun little zigzag all around that we can use for our social media. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to change the cap on this to be a rounded cap. And now we have a fun little element to zig and zag with, right? So fun. Now, I'm going to show you one more shape that I want to play around with is I want to make a star. And I want to make a star that is kind of like this old, almost like 70s star. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start out with a circle. So we're going to go to the ellipse tool. Those wiggle lines. Yes, Wade, those wiggle lines. We all knew what I was talking about once we got there. So this one is going to be yellow. I'm going to go ahead and drop it in to this yellow question mark. Let's call this yellow. I bet it's technically orange. Let's look. It's technically orange. We're going to call it yellow. That looks gross. All right, we're going to call it orange, and we're going to select this circle. And if you can see the anchor points on this circle, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 on either side. We're going to use something called pucker and bloat. And again, pucker and bloat is pretty much just what we did with inflate, but it works a little bit differently. Pucker and bloat is going to change the segments. Pucker is going to pull them in, and bloat is going to push them out. But it's going to use each line segment instead of the overall shape. So when you're using the warp and inflate, it's going to do the overall shape. Using pucker and bloat is going to do each individual segment. So we're going to do pucker and bloat because we want to make a star. And was a star other than a circle that's been squished in? So we're going to go to Effect. Then we are going to go to Distort and Transform. And then we're going to click on Pucker and Bloat. Now watch what happens with our preview. If we bloat, you can see that it's taking those lines and it's pulling the center out, right? It's making a clover because each of those segments is being augmented by 38% of a bloat. Now, if we did this with a warp, it would actually, when we inflated it, it would actually look a lot different. But we're going to do it here, and we're going to pucker. And when we do the pucker, you can see, check that out. It's making this nice, cool star for us because each of these line segments is going in. And yes, pucker and bloat is so much fun. So we're going to hit OK. And you can see that this is still very much a circle. And so if we want it to be a little more of that like mid-century modern star that's uneven, we can actually click this and just drag it in. And it's going to make that star a little more uneven for us. Now, let's say that we want to do a couple different versions of this star. We can click and drag, or we can even copy and paste. And then maybe I want the star to be a little more out that way, right? So we can put one here. Maybe I want a little star coming down here. And here I'm just holding Alt or Option. And we're going to bring that down, and maybe we want it to be a little more circular. Maybe it's a little more tight, and it goes right there. So now we've got a nice little accent, right? So these are looking good, but the problem is right now, this is a line, these are circles, this we expanded. We need to expand these shapes before we put them into a Creative Cloud library. So I'm going to go to Object and Expand Appearance. Now you can see that it's actually just made this a path. Because it was a path initially, and we added the zigzag, and think about this, the effects are affecting a shape. So the shape that was being affected was a stroke. So when we expand, it will give us a stroke, right? It's just like math. If this is a shape that we have augmented, it will then give us a shape. So if you're augmenting a stroke, it will give you a stroke when you expand. If it's a shape, it will be a shape. So here, if we select these, because they are shapes and not paths, when we go to Object and Expand Appearance, it is giving us new shapes. Yeah, okay. This path, we can also expand again and go to Expand, and then it will give us a full shape right there. All right, so that's looking good. Now let's go ahead and put them in the place that we want them to be. Let's go to Window. Let's go to Libraries. And here it's going to open up our Creative Cloud libraries. So it's syncing, thinking, got it. Now yours is going to look like this. It will probably look empty. I have a ton of libraries because I love using this feature. But we're going to click on Create New Library. And from here, I'm going to name this Social Shapes for us to use. And I'm going to hit Create. And here, check this out, it has access all the things, everything that we need lives in these libraries, and these libraries exist in the cloud. They just exist, and they're everywhere that you need them to be. So we're simply, watch this, we're simply going to grab the shape, click, and drag it over here. And you can see the name will actually pop up when we do that. It says Artwork 1, and we let go, and boom, Artwork 1 is now in there. We can click and drag again, right there, Artwork 2. These, we can group them, or we could bring them in separately. I'm going to grab them all and bring them in here, and boom, Artwork 3. If you want to, you can double click in here and you can rename them. We've got a squiggle, we've got a squircle, and we've got stars. We can also organize these by creating groups. Right now, we don't have enough, so we're really not going to use that. If you wanted to, you also could save these colors by selecting a shape and clicking on the plus button that's right above my head and doing fill color. So you can either add it as a graphic or a fill color. So if we want the blue color, we can add that as a fill color, and the same thing with the green and the yellow. Now, we've put these in a Creative Cloud library. Awesome. Watch what happens. Watch this magic. So we're going to hop over here into assets.adobe.com. This is where all of your Creative Cloud assets exist. You can see my parents are in there from like some old project that I worked on, all kinds of stuff. But you can see that we now have colors and shapes. So look at this, our social shapes are here. We have all of our graphics, we have all of our colors already synced, and we'll be able to use these in all of the different programs that we use. So if you are going to experiment with Creative Cloud Express, definitely do it. Express.adobe.com is where you go get it. We're gonna hop in here real quick, and I just wanna show you, let's say that I'm creating a social media graphic, and I'm like, oh man, I have this great stuff that I made in our Illustrator. I want to bring it into Creative Cloud Express. I want to use it on my phone. I want to grab it on mobile. Well, guess what? Boom. Social shapes. We click on libraries, and you can do this on your phone and mobile as well. We click on social shapes, and let's see. We just want to add in maybe our squircle. It's going to add that in for us. And then maybe we want to put some stars on the side. So we're going to click to add those stars and overlap those. And you can see they are live objects. So they are full, they are see-through. We can change them if I wanted to. I can rotate this so that I have a cool line going across here. Maybe I want it to be bigger so it goes all the way across. And we can use all of these graphics that we have created right here in Creative Cloud Express without having to export anything, without having to change anything. It just exists. Now, the cool thing, okay, the coolest thing is now, if we're going to make a new document, these will still exist. So I'm back in Illustrator now, and I'm going to Control New for a new document and hit Create. Let's create a new document. I don't know why I have 6 of them, but let's say that we want to do our stars. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag these stars, and it's going to give us a preview of what we're about to place. So when we click, it is going to place that. And this is a linked graphic. So right now, see, it is a linked graphic, and that means that it is linked to this extension of this object that we have used. If you just want to grab the vectors and you don't want to have a linked object, you can click and hold, but hold Alt or Option. And then when you click to drag, it will drop it as vectors. So again, click and drag, hold Alt or Option, and then place it to get the vectors. If you just click and drag, it will just give you the placed image. Now, my opinion, always use placed images because of this. Let's say 3 stars is too much for us, right? We don't want 3 stars. We only want to have 2. What we can do is in our library right here, we can actually double click on this. And because we've dragged it in from Illustrator, it knows that it's an Illustrator shape. So we can double click and it will open it in Illustrator for us. So let's say that we want to have a couple more stars. I know that I said that I wanted less, but let's go ahead and do more. I'm just going to make some copies of these stars and put them in here. Oh, I messed that up. There we go. Put them in here in a couple other places, right? This is something that we can play around with. Maybe we want to stretch it differently. And maybe we want to create just a nice little composition that fits all of the area of these stars, so we have nothing being left behind. So here we've added all these stars, and it's very different from the shape that is here in our Creative Cloud library. Well, when I hit Control Save, or I go to File and Save, it is going to save this temporary file that you can see here. Now, when I close it, watch what has happened. Automatically, our placed images have updated. The cool thing is, this will update any place that this object has been used. So if you've used this in an InDesign document, if you've used this in Photoshop, if you've used this in Illustrator, any place that this linked object from your library has been used, it will live update across the board so that you never have to change it again. Right now, I don't believe that it live updates here on a document for Creative Cloud Express. Let's go ahead and actually see if I reopen it, if it will update that. I don't think that it live updates them because it's placing it. It doesn't. But if I come back into my libraries, it should be here and updated. In theory, it does that. It's probably syncing because it's browser. It takes a little bit longer to sync. But if you want to ever make changes, you can simply pull it in and pull it back out. Now, I believe if I wanted to change it one more time, so let's say that we want this to be 2 squiggles, I believe that I can grab these and bring them over here and drop them in there. I don't want to do it that way. The easiest way to do it, again, would just be to double click here. If you use multiple artboards, it updates. I'm not sure what you mean, Murray. I'm not sure what you mean there. So we're going to do this as a 3-peat, and let's go ahead and bring it down so it's a little bit smaller. And we're going to save that. And now you can see that our squiggle, which we've placed on this, has actually changed its shape. So what has happened here, I think maybe this is what you meant, Murray, is if you update an object and you saw there that the artboard actually changed. So in the linked object, this is the size of the artboard, and we only have part of the shape on that artboard. The linked image will only show what is on that artboard. So if something gets weird, that's what happened. And all you need to do is double click in here. And what we're going to do actually is grab all of these. We're going to group them, right click and go to group. Then we're going to grab the artboard tool, which is right over here. And we are going to click on this group. Watch this. So we click on the group of objects, and it is going to make a perfectly sized artboard around everything in that group. If it doesn't work, sometimes you have to double click. But we clicked and it has made a new artboard. So we can select the old artboard and simply delete it. Now when we save, it should update our preview of that placed image to be the whole image. There we go. So this is super helpful if you're working with logos that you know are going to change. If you're working with assets that maybe need to flip in and out, this is the way to do it. This is the way to sync things. This is the way to make things work easily. And again, it goes across all of these different places. If we wanted to, again, we can see that over here in our files, going to assets.adobe.com. And we have the old ones here. Let's go ahead and hit refresh. Fingers crossed. Boom, updated. So our squiggles updated, our stars updated. There's no need to make a whole bunch of different versions, for each thing that you are creating. My goodness. So what I want you to do for the challenge today is to play around with shapes, right? Maybe we want to do an arc, play around with making a rectangle, go to the warp right here, and then just select all of these. Scroll through and see all the fun different shapes that you can create with these warps. I love this one for social media. This is one of my favorites for social media. Maybe we want a Coca-Cola kind of swoosh. We can hit OK. And again, we go to Object and Expand to expand that. Let's go ahead and add one more color in here. Let's add a nice pink. Ooh, this is a fun color scheme. And we are going to add that color, again, having the object selected. We can go fill color, and that will add the color in there for us. And then we also can add in that graphic right there. And now it has added the graphic, and we're going to name this Swish. I don't know why I spelled swish with a Q, but we're spelling swish with a Q now. I'm sorry. And again, remember, if you are going to place objects, you can place them by simply clicking and dragging. Or if you want to just have the vectors, right? These are not the vectors. I can't augment them or click in and change them in any way. If I want to do the vectors, I can click and drag and hold Alt or Option and then click, and it will give me the vectors for all of these. So again, I'm holding Alt or Option to place these in there, and boom. We have all of our vectors over here, and then we have all of our placed images here. So play around with this and make some fun social media images, make all your shapes here. And then my challenge to you is to jump over into Creative Cloud Express and make something in there. I know this is a daily creative challenge for Illustrator, but we're gonna work in Illustrator to create our library and then hop into Creative Cloud Express and make something. And we are going to export it by just clicking download over here once you're done and post it in our Discord in here in the challenge tab. So this is a fun one. It got a little bit weird and wonky. We're doing some weird stuff today. We were in Illustrator, but doing all kinds of other stuff. So go ahead, play around with that, make some paths, make some shapes, post some social media images, and I will see you tomorrow for another daily creative challenge, which will be our last one of this set. Aww, sad day. So we'll be wrapping up tomorrow with a fun challenge. It'll be a little challenging. They always are. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow right here on Adobe Live. Thank you for flying Hawk Airlines.